If you're watching this, it probably means you're interested in buying real estate, which is awesome and super exciting. But it's also probably a little scary and maybe a little confusing. This guide will help you better understand the process so you're better prepared and feel more comfortable in your home buying journey. There's some more resources and info on this page if you want to check those out, but let's get into it. First, the most important part of the whole process, get your pre-approval done. I know it's more exciting and fun to look at houses, go online, see them in person, start imagining who's going to get what room, where you're going to host your outdoor cookout, stuff like that. Talking about a mortgage is not very fun and exciting, but it's the most important part and it helps set the stage for a smooth buying process. Pre-approval is where you talk with your loan officer about your finances. They assess your situation and give you options for what programs might be suitable. You might be asked to turn in financial documents like tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, among other things, to make sure up front that there's not going to be any issues that would prevent you from getting a house. Here's an important question that surprisingly a lot of buyers don't get asked. How much are you comfortable paying each month for a house? Because a lender can approve you for a certain amount, but at the end of the day, ultimately, you're the one responsible for making that monthly payment. Knowing that top-end price range that you're comfortable paying each month will help your loan officer be able to back into what price range you should be looking in. Now, during that pre-approval process, we're going to take a look at credit too. There's another video about credit on this page, so check that out for more info if you like. The pre-approval part typically goes in one of two ways. It might result in a mortgage action plan. If you're not currently qualified for a loan, we come up with an action plan for what steps you can take in a time frame so that you can work towards getting qualified. If you're currently qualified, then you'll have a pre-approval issued to you, which you can then share with your realtor. Now, you may already have a realtor and they may be waiting on that pre-approval so they can start showing you houses. But if you don't have a realtor yet, that's okay. Ask your loan officer. They may be able to recommend a few that you can talk to and see if one of them might be one you're comfortable working with. You and your realtor will talk about what you're looking for so they know what types of properties to search for. Things like your price range, the location, the size of the home you need, and other questions to truly understand what kind of property you're wanting to find. And once you find a home, they're going to help you submit your offer. Do you want your offer to stand out and have a better chance of getting accepted? Check out the info about submitting a digital offer on this page. I think it's really cool and it's super effective. Hopefully you're able to come to terms with a seller signs, buyer signs, and now you're under contract. Congratulations. Immediately get that contract to your loan officer. They're going to need to update your file with the specific terms of your contract, and they'll need to send you an official loan application to be signed. Now, at this point, there's several things all happening simultaneously. You're likely going to have a home inspection done. Your realtor can help facilitate that with you. A home inspection is important because it allows you to have a professional look at the house in great detail and see if there's any issues, major or minor, that you should be concerned with. At the same time, a title company or real estate attorney will begin something called a title search. This is when they look back through the ownership history of the property to make sure that you're getting what's called clean title at closing. We're also going to be getting an appraisal done. Now, your lender handles that appraisal process, so it's nothing you need to do. An appraisal lets the lender know what the opinion of value is of the appraiser and if the property meets minimum property requirements for the loan program that you have chosen. At this time, we're also looping in a loan processor, and they help with gathering a lot of the paperwork, doing a lot of the verifications, and getting your file prepped so it can be submitted and reviewed by an underwriter. Now, here's an important thing about underwriting. An underwriter, believe it or not, does not look at your file and decide if they should approve you. So there's actually several different loan programs available, and you might have heard of some. Conventional loans, FHA, VA, USDA rural development, among some other ones. Each of these programs already have published guidelines that are hundreds of pages long, and they tell us exactly what the requirements are for loan approval. An underwriter is simply looking at your file, making sure it fits within those guidelines, and making sure you've provided the necessary documentation to verify that you meet that criteria. So that's all they're doing. They're not making a judgment whether or not you're creditworthy. They're just verifying that your file meets the published criteria of that loan program. After that initial review is done, typically you get something called a conditional approval. That means the underwriter has looked at your file, reviewed everything, and they do agree that it meets the guidelines, but there might be a few documents that they need in order to issue final approval. Then you work with a processor to round up all those conditions, and that way we can get your file submitted back for final review and final approval. Now, remember when I said there's lots of things happening simultaneously? We're wanting to have the legal stuff back from the title company or real estate attorney, the appraisal, and then your home insurance, all coming in around the same time, so that way they can be part of that final approval submission. I mentioned home insurance. The lender does not provide home insurance for you. It's your responsibility to get home insurance. If you have an insurance provider that you typically use, they would be a good person to get a quote from. If you're not sure who to use, ask your lender, ask your realtor. We can provide you with some referrals. When underwriting reviews that final submission and verifies all those conditions are satisfied, that's when you get final loan approval, and now your file moves to the closing department. That closing department is going to work with your title company or real estate attorney to review all the numbers and calculations to the exact amount that you need for closing. At this point, you've given deposits. There may be things you paid for up front. There's credits to and from the seller for things like property taxes. All those items need to be calculated exactly in preparation for closing. Once that's finalized, you get a copy of a final closing disclosure, so you can review that figure yourself and know how much you need for your closing. Now, before you go to closing, you're probably going to be doing something called a pre-closing walkthrough with your realtor. Remember, once you sign the closing papers, the house is yours and your responsibility. Pre-closing walkthrough gives you a chance to make sure the house is in the same or better condition as it was when you agreed to buy it. If it isn't, this is your chance to address it before it becomes your legal responsibility. Now, when you go to closing, you're going to sign the final loan documents and other paperwork that transfers the legal ownership of the property from the seller to you. Congratulations, you now own a house. But Tim, I heard I should shop around to get the best rate for my loan. When do I do that? Shopping around is a good idea. The best time to do that is way back at the beginning when you're getting pre-approved. That's a good time to talk with multiple lenders and loan officers. Do they offer the loan programs you're looking for? Are they able to communicate things with you clearly? What can they do to help you win the deal? What do their reviews look like? And are they able to get you to closing on time? Rates are important too. So do they offer competitive rates? I did a deep dive into mortgage rates and how they actually work. So check out that video on this page to get a behind the scenes look at where they come from and why sometimes the lowest rate ends up being the most expensive loan. And here's one last tip. If you're wanting to shop for a loan, the worst time to do it is right after you have an accepted contract. You see, once you have a signed agreement, you're contractually obligated to close by a specific date. That date could be within 30 days. We have to make sure that we hit that closing date, and there's a lot to be done between contract and closing, which means we don't have the luxury of burning through those important days up front. Picking the right mortgage professional to help you through the process is extremely important and can make the difference between a smooth and successful closing or not getting the house at all. So make sure you do your due diligence and try to do it up front so that way you don't have any delays in getting to the closing table. So that's the process from pre-approval to closing. That process does kind of follow a straight line, but let's be honest, there may be slight deviations from that straight line now and then. And that's okay. Just work with your team of professionals to help you get back on track. So was that helpful? Did it answer some questions you had and give you more confidence in home buying? Do you have other questions that weren't covered or topics you want to know more about? My contact info is here and on this page. Reach out anytime and I'd be happy to help. Good luck with your home buying journey. And remember, sometimes it can be stressful and seem overwhelming. When that happens, ask questions, lean on your professionals for help, and try and have fun. It's an exciting time and you're going to do great.